You're gonna laugh at me for this, but last night I severely injured my back while trying to reach for a bag of chips. Look, I have been going through it the past few days. I literally have COVID. I am not thriving. And I was on the couch basically all day yesterday, okay? I was so sick, barely could move. And last night I was so sick, I was laying there, the cat was on me, and I tried to like reach out to get one of my chips. I must have like reached kind of weird or did something wrong because I pulled a muscle in my back and I literally could not move for hours last night. I don't know how I managed to severely injure myself while on the couch, but I did. I'm feeling a little bit better today. Like I can kind of function. I just can't really turn my body that much or like bend at all. But it's just one thing after another, isn't it? I am not doing well right now, but I don't want to ditch you and like leave you without an upload. So I've got a build I want to show you today. And for once, I'm actually building a community lot, and the inspiration behind this was to have some sort of venue that your Sims could go on a date to. I wanted to make something kind of casual but still cute and honestly a little bit Valentine's Day themed. I built this one on Valentine's Day, so I was just feeling very inspired. It's very pink. There's a lot of like hearts and stuff all over the place inside. It's just a little bit less chaotic than the Valentine's build I made a few days ago. This one's more subtle with the Valentine's theme. So today we're building a cafe. That's the lot type that came with the get together pack, and I will say this, cafes are like a little bit buggy. Like they don't really work exactly as intended. The concept is very simple. There's like a coffee bar and you can walk in and have your Sims order drinks or like some kinds of pastries. But the bar itself, it feels like Sims never want to actually order anything, and like it's kind of slow and the barista's never actually there. But that's just the Sims 4 for you. Everything's kind of just like that. I like the vibes of this lot type though, because it's kind of fun to imagine going out for a coffee, and I kind of tried to decorate it as though it was maybe like a bookstore on the top floor or like sort of library-esque. This is kind of like my dream destination. I'm not really a coffee drinker, but I love the idea of going to like a little cute pink cafe and like reading a book upstairs. So that's what I was channeling with this. I used a lot of pink details outside too. There's these really cute pink awnings from Get to Work. I even used a brick that kind of leans a little bit pink when it's paired with this stuff. It's like definitely not a pink brick, but it almost looks a little bit pink in this context. You know what I mean? One of the other major highlights of this build, which we'll get to once we start working on the rest of the exterior, is the heart-shaped fountain. And this is kind of where the build changed a little bit. You know, at first it was just like, oh, it's cute and kind of pink. And then I put a heart-shaped fountain and I was like, oh, okay, it's Valentine's Day. But the heart-shaped fountain is kind of fun. I surrounded it with some archways of flowers, so it would be kind of a cute spot to have your Sims take photos. I'm picturing like trying to propose there in front of it. I know it's silly to build an entire area out based on how the screenshots would look, but like that's what I was doing. I was trying to imagine how I'd want my Sims to get engaged, and I was like, yeah, this is a good spot for that. So that's what I built on the outside. After I decided that, I also ended up adding in that flower cart from the wedding pack. If you've got the wedding stories pack, you can buy bouquets to use for your weddings, and it just comes in like a little stall, just like any of the other stands in The Sims 4. And so I put that here. Annoyingly, it won't be operated unless you hire someone to staff it, which kind of stinks. It's just gonna be like an empty stall. But if you wanted to, you could buy flowers here. I kind of liked the idea of that. Even if you didn't use them as like a wedding bouquet, I think it's still kind of cute to have the flowers and then use them as like a gift for your Sims fiance because you got engaged in front of the flower thing. I used to use the flowers so much more often in The Sims 3 because in The Sims 3 you could give people flowers really easily. It was like a romantic interaction and they would get a whole bouquet once you did it. In The Sims 4 you can give them a rose and they'll get like one single rose, but I wish that you could access the bouquets more without having to actually go to the stall in Tartosa and buy them. So I'm hoping that maybe if I make more of an effort to include that stall on lots like this, I'll be more likely to use it. But we're actually kind of moving on to the floor plan and trying to work on the inside a bit now. You might have seen that I put a couple of staircases in. There's like a ladder and a staircase up to the rooftop because for some reason I am in my fire escape era right now. I keep putting fire escapes all over the place. There's not even anything on the rooftop in this build. A lot of my more recent builds have had rooftops and stuff. This one completely empty, completely flat, but I still put a fire escape out there. I mean, this way, if you wanted to, your Sims could go up there to the top of the roof. And this is kind of a cool area as well. This is in Windenburg. It's where the regular cafe normally is, that Hare and Hedgehog default cafe in Windenburg. But I bulldozed it and I'm replacing it with my own pink cafe. Windenburg is really, really nice. The area that this lot is in is kind of like the downtown. It's a little bit more modern, but it's got some beautiful views of the water. There's like some cherry blossom trees kind of nearby to this area too. So it's not a bad idea to just climb up to the empty roof and have your Sims get engaged up there. Climbing up to the rooftop is kind of like a cute little date idea. I don't know. It seems like something that might happen in like a romance book, you know, like climbing up to the rooftop where you're not allowed. I'm saying that because I literally just read a book called The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I didn't like it that much. It was kind of like that Groundhog Day movie where they wake up every day and it's the same day over and over again, but it's repeating Valentine's Day over and over again. So I read it this week because, you know, Valentine's Day was this week. But in that book, one of the things they do is climb to the roof of a building. So maybe I'm just channeling that a little bit, but it's a cute idea, okay? I actually think that Get Together is a really underrated pack. I get asked questions about that one a lot, like, is Get Together worth it? And I don't think that it stands out as much as the more obvious packs do. You know, things like University and these like big timey feature packs really stand out to people because you want to go to college, you want to do this, you want to do that. Get Together's main feature isn't like that interesting seeming because the whole main thing is the clubs, but I use the clubs like social groups all the time. Like pretty much every single one of my Sims has a club, and not really for like the intended purpose. I'm not trying to have like a book club or like a chess club. It's more like I'll use the clubs to pretend that I'm online dating and make like a group of eligible Sims and then date them that way. Or I'll use it to make a group of like teenagers so my Sims can have some friends from high school, or to meet other kids that way. Or, and probably most importantly, I use it to like link up with my Sims extended family. I'll make a club of like all the cousins or like all of the extended family in general, like aunts and uncles and grandparents that have moved out. Because it can be kind of hard for me to try and make an effort to keep in touch with other Sims once they're out of my household. So the clubs are actually really helpful for that. And then Windenburg is probably one of the best worlds in all of The Sims 4. Like objectively, Windenburg I think is the biggest out of all of the worlds in The Sims 4. And I really like that Tudor style of Windenburg. I know not everybody does, but that's kind of one of my favorite house styles. So overall, I'm a really big fan of Get Together. And of course, you know, the cafe lot type is kind of a fun addition as well, but I don't really use the cafes that much. At the time, the pool lot type was also from Get Together, but now the pool lot type is base game. Back in the day, you couldn't have a public pool unless you had Get Together, but not anymore. Anyway, I'm working on the exterior a little bit more right now. We're kind of trying to figure out how to fit in this heart fountain. And you'll notice I struggled a lot with this. I went back and forth so much. I really felt like I was doing a really bad job with this build. It doesn't help that I've been sick. I'm not really feeling like at the top of my game. I'm not feeling very creative recently. So I was looking at this and just being like, oh my God, it's so ugly. Like I'm doing so bad at this. I always kind of think that with community lots because I just don't think that I'm that good at making them. I try, and I think this one ends up being kind of cute, but it was definitely a process. It was like a struggle to get to the point where I felt happy with this build. So we went back and forth so much. I knew I wanted to have kind of a park thing by the little heart fountain, but I just didn't know how to put it and where it should be and how big it should be and like what should go in the park. I was trying out a lot of different fence options to put around it. Like this took so long. I want to issue an apology to anybody who was there on my Twitch stream this day when I was building this live because you had to go through a lot with me. Like we were struggling for like a couple hours trying to figure this one out. Speaking of my Twitch streams though, if you want to come by, I live stream The Sims pretty much every day on Twitch. I unfortunately don't stream on Sundays and I'm posting this on a Sunday of course, but I live stream all the time. We play The Sims all the time, every day except for Sunday. So if you want to come by, we do a lot of stuff like this and it's kind of fun to build these things live because you can offer some feedback real time. Like the heart fountain wasn't my idea. That was Chad's idea and I kind of love how it turned out. I didn't even think of doing something like that. It was kind of like a little out there for me, but I think it turned out really cool. I'm saying that right now when it does not look cool, but just trust me, it will look cool eventually, okay? Now, speaking of this romance stuff, real quick other huge life update for you. I mentioned last week in my speed build that I was going wedding dress shopping over the weekend, and the huge life update is that I actually ended up buying a wedding dress on Saturday last week, which honestly is maybe where I got COVID, but I don't want to talk about it. It's probably not unlikely, but anyway, I actually posted a video on YouTube, like a little short with the dress try-ons, but I posted a longer version on TikTok and Instagram because you can post longer vertical videos on those platforms. On YouTube, a short has to be 60 seconds, so I had to like cut it. It's kind of snappy. It's real fast on YouTube. But if you want to see some of the dresses that I tried on, I did post it a few places. I didn't show off the dress that I actually bought because that I think should be a secret. It should be a surprise. But I showed off the ones that I didn't buy and kind of talked about what I liked and didn't like, so you can probably picture the real one a bit more. But let's talk about that process because I was so scared. You guys, I was like, I hate to say it, I was kind of crying because I was so scared. I was really, really intimidated and really quite nervous about going dress shopping. I felt like I was gonna feel so self-conscious, and I was quite scared of like the having to be pinned into a dress by people because I didn't want to like have to be undressed in front of people. I don't know, the whole thing was just really nerve-wracking for me, and I felt like it was gonna be a bad time. Like I just kind of wanted to get it over with. And I also didn't expect to find a dress that I liked last weekend. I was kind of like, this is our first try, we'll just see what the vibes are. I didn't really know what I wanted. I had kind of an idea, but I wasn't sure, and so I just wanted to look and like, you know, feel things out a bit. I think I ended up trying on like 7 or 8 dresses, but the third dress was the one that I ended up buying. And after I put on that one, I just kept comparing everything else to that. It was like, oh, I like this one, but the third dress was better. Oh, this one's nice, but the third one had a better skirt. You know, we just kept going back and back to the third dress. Well, I ended up buying the third dress. We are gonna do a couple things to it. The only thing is that I also bought sleeves. They sell like sleeves detached and you can add them to dresses. We're gonna buy the sleeves separate and then sew them on when the dress comes. The dress has little spaghetti straps, but I kind of want to have like a flowy sleeve, so I bought sleeves. I think I want to feel a bit more covered. Like I don't know, I get kind of self-conscious, so that's part of the reason, but also I think the sleeves are pretty. And it's barely covered. They're like sheer poofy sleeves. They're not covering anything, but it makes me feel better, like more secure, I guess. I also bought a veil, which is kind of fun. I didn't really think about buying a veil that day. Like I wasn't really even thinking about accessories, but we tried on a veil with it, and I think I kind of got upsold a little bit. Like I think she was kind of trying to be like, oh, do you want this? And actually I did. I liked it, so I bought it. But I ended up buying all of that on Saturday, so that's done. Now it's gonna take like 6 months or something for them to order it, and then I'll, you know, come try on, do some fittings and stuff, and then we'll have it. The actual wedding's not for like over a year, but we're gonna be ready. We've got the dress figured out. It's honestly like a huge weight off my shoulders because again, I was so nervous about it. I was so stressed about it, and now like it's done. It's figured out. I think some people find the dress shopping process fun. I don't know. It wasn't for me. I did have a fun time that day, but the whole thing was very overwhelming. It was very anxiety inducing. I'm not the type to enjoy shopping in person too much though. Like it's just not really my thing. But anyway, that's my life update. I've got some good and some bad life updates today, apparently. I usually use these speed builds as kind of like little podcasty life update things. So I'm really sorry if you don't care. If you're like, this is your first video here, you're probably like, I don't know this girl. Why is she talking to me about all this stuff? Just play The Sims. So I will. I'm sorry. Right now we're trying to work on that little park area. And this is, again, I was having such a time with this. I had no idea what I wanted to be. We've tried so many things here on the exterior. What I ended up doing, and I think the main culprit was just that I thought that the heart fountain looked really weird on the grass. I think it needed to be on stone or pavement. So once I kind of came to terms with that, I ended up putting like 2 small grassy sections around it, like on the front and the back. And then I added in some pretty flowery arches, kind of just lining the whole walkway. And this is where I intend to take those engagement photos with my Sims. I felt like this was the perfect spot for that. When you stand in front of the first arch and there's just like a long line of arches behind you, it's stunning. That would be so pretty to get engaged in front of in real life. Like the photo spot with the water behind you, it's really good. So I liked how that turned out a lot. And then I started trying to figure out tables, and I went back and forth so much. There's a lot of pretty pink tables in this game. There's like the pink and blue stripy one from the backyard stuff pack with the umbrella. There's like little pink tile ones that come from Get Together. There's like pink floral picnic tables from City Living. Like there's just a ton of options. What I kind of realized was that I didn't like any of them. None of them were like the style that I was going for. The black on the tile table was too dark. The blue and white stripes on the umbrella table were too bright. Like they didn't match each other. So I ended up using a plain like white wooden table and those little plastic pink chairs from the rent pack. And then I went for like a plain white umbrella table outside too. I just didn't think that the stripy umbrellas were working for this. I wanted it to. I really, really liked them, but in the end, it just kind of didn't fit. I did also put a bunch of candles out here. There's like fairy lights and candles and pretty stuff like that. One of the other things that I used that I didn't realize I was going to like were those pink flowery bushes from Island Living. I don't really know if I've ever used those. Maybe I have before for like an all pink sort of build challenge, but I don't normally go for them because I think they're a little bit too busy. But in this case, I think they look really, really nice. I love the shape of the flower. I think there's just something texturally off about them. Like in The Sims, I think the texture is not the best, but it works for this build. So it's always kind of fun to find a spot for a thing that you don't normally go for. It's like eye-opening to realize, oh, wait a minute, maybe I actually kind of like that item. It makes it way more useful. Although I don't think I'm gonna be using those bushes everywhere. The other thing that I never ever use is this like rose archway that I've got on the side. That's from the Romantic Garden Stuff pack. And I don't think I have ever used that outside of the Romantic Garden build that I did a couple months ago. It's just hard to use a giant flower arch, and that arch isn't like a wedding arch or anything, it's just an arch. It'd be one thing if your Sims could get married under it, but it's not. It's like a purely decorative arch, and that's fine, but it's hard to use it for weddings when your Sims can't stand there, right? Like, you can try to do it by having them just get married there, because they can just talk to each other and do it, but they're not gonna stand right, they'll like face the wrong way, so it's hard to use. So, on the rest of the inside, the whole upstairs becomes kind of like a living room vibe seating area with a bunch of bookshelves. We've got like some couches up there, and there's also bathrooms upstairs. I struggled a lot with the bathroom placement. I really wanted them to be downstairs, but I also wanted them to be big because there's pink bathroom stalls. I know it's very dumb to base all of it around a pink toilet stall, but it was just too perfect to pass up. So I ended up making like the whole back of the upstairs into a bathroom, which, you know, maybe a bit much, but it was worth it because it's pink. And then downstairs, there's like a little cafe section in that main front area where we have the actual place to buy the food. There's some seating and some tables. And then over to the right, you'll see me build in a bit of a stage almost. That's one other thing about this is I was kind of trying to make it so that this could be a multi-purpose lot. I think that if you wanted to, you could swap the cafe thing out for a regular bar and then use it like a bar or a lounge. It doesn't really have bar or lounge vibes, but you could totally do that, especially if you don't have get together. And the other thing is that it could maybe be made into a restaurant instead. You could probably turn this library area upstairs into a kitchen space and then use it as a restaurant with dine out. I'm just always trying to think of ways that I can use these lots for multiple purposes because it just becomes more useful that way, especially with community lots. Like, I really wish that we had an ability to actually have multi-purpose or like multi-use community lots. We've been talking about that a lot ever since the rent pack came out. I, like many of you, really want to have like a community lot downstairs and a residential lot upstairs. That is like my actual dream. But also if you could have like a restaurant and a cafe on the same lot and like split it somehow, or like a cafe and a library lot type, or I don't know, just I really want to have that multi-purpose thing. I know it's maybe like too much of a dream for us. I don't know if it'll ever actually come. I guess we did say that about multi-family lots and we did get the rent pack. And now that we have the rent pack, I guess the system is a little bit more in place. So it might be a little bit easier for them to do, but who knows? I am not getting my hopes up about anything at this point. I just will take what I can get. But anyway, this upstairs is actually quite small. Obviously the bathroom takes up most of the space, but I tried to decorate it a little bit with the bookshelves on both sides, a little bit of a couch area, and then a lot of pink. Pink walls, pink accents, pink everything. And then downstairs in this back corner, this is that little stage I was talking about. I kind of love the idea of someone doing little performances here in the cafe. So I put a piano, a microphone, and also a guitar. This is actually kind of nice for you because if your Sims are trying to work on those skills, they could come here and like busk for tips on this little stage. It also just looks kind of cute. It makes it seem like it's a real community space that like holds events and stuff, even if in reality it's not, and they don't. They don't hold any events. It's all just pretend, but I like to pretend. It helps. I also got an excuse to use that huge hanging plant thing from the Blooming Rooms kit. It's like a big giant cage almost with a ton of plants hanging from it, but it comes in a pink swatch. It's got like some pink metal details on it, so it looked perfect in here. I also ended up putting a wall of like counter height stools underneath one of the windows so we could have a couple computers. It's just, again, useful for your Sims to have that and to have a place for them to actually work on a computer somewhere in here. You can pretend you've like come to the cafe to write or something with your Sims, I don't know. The other main gameplay thing I included is a woohoo bush. I managed to hide the woohoo bush out by the heart fountain, so if you want your Sims to woohoo here, they can in fact woohoo in a heart bush by the heart fountain. Oh, and the other like main controversial thing I did was use the pink plastic chairs inside as well. People thought it was kind of weird that I had the plastic chairs inside. I don't mind it. I think it looks kind of cute. I don't know what your opinion is on those chairs, but I kind of liked them, so I put them inside too. I'm sorry if you hate it. I guess you could change it if you want, but I really like those chairs. They're just little plastic chairs from the rent pack, but they come in some great colors. The pastels are good. I've been using them a lot recently for like outdoor spaces, but this is my first time using them actually inside a house. I think they're also pretty cheap if I remember correctly, so they could be nice for starter homes, but this is not like a budget build at all. Obviously, it's like, it's a community lot. No one's trying to buy this. Oh, and it's not a limited pack build either. I don't know what got into me. I was using all kinds of packs with this. In particular, honestly, mostly things like the Book Nook kit and Get Together, things that kind of made sense for the space, but I definitely threw in a few other random kits, and for that I apologize. I was just so starstruck by the pink that I couldn't help it. I'll show you a couple major details once we actually get inside to show you the tour at the end, but there's things like a movie hangout door into the bathroom. There's like industrial loft kit decals on the wall with the little tea mug. A lot of the Blooming Rooms kit. Again, I don't know with the kits, I used too many here, I'm sorry. The only thing about the interior that kind of bugs me is the look of the cafe counter. We only have a couple cafe counters. There's 2 of them, and they match the base game counters really well. So they have like the base game expensive counter and then that base game tiled counter, but there's no other swatches. So they're only coming in the base game counter swatches. And I know I always complain about things not matching, so it is helpful that they match the base game counters, but I just wish we had some like cute pastels, maybe like a more modern one, just something that was a little bit different, because for this I had to use just plain white because nothing else matched. I didn't want to have like a black countertop in here. It totally wouldn't have worked, but I just feel always kind of sad about the lack of those counters. Again, the pack is from 2015 though, so we can't be complaining at this point. It's been like 10 years. But that is the build pretty much complete. What I want to do now is pop back into the game and show you a tour of the finished product. Oh my gosh, I gotta be honest, I'm proud of myself for almost getting through this whole video because I feel so weak and dizzy right now. I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but I'm not doing well. So I built this one over here on this hare and hedgehog lot in Windenburg. It's kind of like in a circle of community lots. There's a gym and a nightclub and a pool and also our pink little cafe. I don't know if it matches the style of Windenburg that well, but I don't really care about that. I just like the build. Here's kind of a view of what the area around this lot looks like. And this whole place kind of takes me back because when I was younger and the pack first came out, I used to have my Sims get engaged over here underneath these pink trees all the time. That was like my spot. So I was kind of channeling that with this build. It's actually a really nice area though. There's like so many cool spots to walk around. I need to come here more these days because it's been a while and I just don't really frequent the old worlds as much. But they even have little easels out in public, just kind of popped around the area. But anyway, this is how the outside of our lot looks. So the main building is actually quite simple. It's a very subtle looking exterior. You can see we've got some little tables with some pretty candles on the porch. I am obsessed with how these look. I did put some tables with umbrellas over here on the side. When you come around the back, we've got like some art decals on the wall. This is that flower stall I was talking about. We do have a chess table and a back entrance, and we also have a second set of little tables back here. This part on the very side is probably the weirdest part, but this is what I'm talking about. Look at the view. If your Sim stood like right here and got engaged, come on. That's so pretty. I might even bring a Sim here so I can show you the fountain on. You just can't really tell in build mode because it doesn't come out and actually activate. Is that the word? It doesn't turn on. It's like off in build mode. So this is what it looks like when it's actually fountaining. And isn't that really pretty though? I really like that. And the sounds of the water, it's just nice. So anyway, over here is that cute little park area. I did put some benches so you can sit outside inspired by it. And then this is what I was talking about by hiding a heart bush. I don't think it looks very good because the red doesn't match that well, but I wanted to have the heart one because it was Valentine's Day. So I tried to hide it so you can't see it from the front, but if you want to, you can woohoo in there in the back. When you actually go inside the build, this is the front door. You can walk in and kind of sit here in the corner. I did put the boba stuff on the wall. These are the boba menus. This is not a boba counter. It sells like cannolis and coffee, basically. Nothing like the thrift and boba tea shop that we've got from the high school pack, but these were just cuter. So I used that menu here. This whole thing is also from the high school years pack. It's actually 2 of them put together, but I really liked the vibes of that for behind the counter. Inside, it's mostly just tables. This is that little wall of counters I was talking about, so you can sit at the counter. I put 1 computer there, kind of pretending that somebody was here using it, but you could also bring your own if you wanted. And then kind of around this side, this is that super cute little stage that I was telling you about. I did include the Freezer Bunny guitar. Honestly, that was like kind of the inspiration for the stage. And I used, this is a fuzzy rug, like fuzzy, fluffy shag carpet from the Pastel Pop kit. And I don't really normally use it in community lots, but I think it's kind of cute for in here, even if maybe a little bit impractical. Like shag carpet in public and in a cafe where there's drinks being served, probably not the best idea, but it's fine. It's The Sims. Upstairs, we have a little bathroom. This is that movie hangout door I was telling you about. I loved that. It's quite simple. We've got some sinks, there's paper towels. I did put a changing table in here. I didn't attach the trash can to it because it just didn't really fit right. It was like sitting out in the middle. If the trash can could be scooted against the wall, it'd be different. But if you put a diaper, just manually drag it into the trash can. I don't normally ever use the changing tables in public because I don't usually have my Sims bring their infants out and about, but it's realistic, it feels like, to have that. And then of course we've got 3 little bathroom stalls, and this is the little library area. These have this really cute color scheme of the pinks and the greens, so I wanted to use them, and I think it turned out really pretty. Upstairs, there is a completely empty rooftop, so you could come up here if you wanted to. It might be kind of fun to have your Sims stand up here and get engaged up here because the view is so pretty. And there is also a pretty cool skylight going into the little cafe area, but that's the full place. It's not too big. It's just a 30 by 20 lot. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Again, these are really out of my comfort zone. I don't feel like I'm the best at doing community lots, and I don't really often build cafes. Although I have built some cat cafes in my day, so I'll link one here on the end card for you if you want to go back and watch that. And with that, I'm gonna end this video right here. Thank you so much for watching. Have the best rest of your day, and I'm gonna catch you all tomorrow. Okay? Bye, everybody. When I think about those floral arches in real life, like that is the dream for the wedding, but do you know how expensive that is? Like, no. Not a full floral arch. Maybe a little bit of florals on an arch, but not a full one.